Hey, Joe, wanted to get your perspective here. So what I did, based on the conversation, I added a P&L sheet and also a non-compete that specifies the functions of the functions and features of REL technology that I would want to protect through a non-compete that will be in place 24 months after the contract ends or terminated, whichever is first. Obviously, that's if anything changes. P&L. This is basically the meat and potatoes of the discussions on our end. The NDA is something we can get past very easy. I don't think it's going to be an issue. There's a link here when you get to this document, link to the Excel doc. It's a breakdown of the same document, but in detail. And bottom line, what we want, and let me read this off here to you. ResNet is required to fund the initial 3-month setup. This is this white section here. At an estimated of about 176,000 using their staff. ResNet will be responsible to identify the staff and resources to successfully set up the infrastructure, including an unlimited to connecting to the MLS. Legal, sales, onboarding, wholesaling staff, and all technology costs, including tech staff required for successful launch. So basically, anything that we require for us to make sure this thing launches. The expenses and profits are estimated based on my numbers. Changes and updates we need to mutually agree, and I'm sure we can cut back a lot of this cost. And then we'll just go ahead and update the business plan to create a mutually approved prior to launch, so we're on the same page. Basically, ResNet will be responsible to management and the pilot test of launching. We will become a resource. So, bottom line, you guys would be heading this launch 100%. Click here. It's going to open this document. This document's now the breakdown of all these numbers. So the first and most important thing to consider is these are all the expenses that are going to be broken down in sections. Here on the business plan, it coincides with this timetable that we had discussed before, so it's all aligned as we had previously discussed. And the idea behind it is to minimize the cost. So the first thing is connecting to the MLS. WolfNet is the access to the MLS. To get started is $1,500, $750 a month on the pilot. Then it goes to a $1,500 minimum that gives us a total of 15 markets. Each new market is $50. So if we have 3 markets, 5, and then 15, that's the cost. And then a one-time REL programmer. So this is paid to my programmer to connect directly to the WolfNet data feed aggregation. So then this way, all we got to do is pretty much pay $300 to open a new market, and it's going to cost us $100 a month per market. So it's fairly inexpensive. One-time MLS connection fee. Each of the MLSs that we're connecting, it's between 500, 1,000. Some are more, some are less, but that's basically based on the MLSs. We already have 1, so it's connecting to 2, and then we're going to connect to another 5. Sorry, we're going to be adding another 2. Yep. And then we're going to be adding 10. How does that make any sense? 2. So we have 2. So we'll have 3 or 5. Gotcha. Okay. So basically, we already have 2 plus the one we have, so that's 3. We're going to have 5, so that's 2 more. That's 5. 3 and 5. Then we're going to add 10, so that's going to give us a total of 15. So those are the total MSAs. Individual MLS fees, they're about $150 a month, and obviously as we expand MLSs. So the initial investment just to connect to the MLS is $30,000. That's something that it's going all third party. There's nothing we can do. Legal, we need 4 contracts and the NDA. this is basically estimated. I'm sure you guys have legal that can be a lot cheaper, but I'm estimating 20 grand just to placehold. It is what it is. We'll have you guys take care of that. And this is specific to the users and then our own mutual NDA. I don't think this is going to be required to be updated every single state, but I guess I'm placing their putting their placeholder. Sales and onboarding. This is super, super important. So I need an onboarding manager. I need a sales manager, a marketing manager. These are a must. This is what's going to secure and ensure that we're able to launch this properly. And at first, I'm going to need 3 staff: onboarding, sales, and manager. We'll spend the 3 months training them, get them going, and then as we expand, then the second phase, we're going to spend some money on the actual updating of the onboarding material and websites based on the input of this group. So it's not just me and Heather building this stuff. And then as we're expanding, we're going to go bring in 2 onboarding managers, 2 sales managers, 1 marketing person. And then we're going to start actually marketing for you guys to get clients. I'll get into the wholesale clients. So this money is going to be invested into getting specific type of borrowers that could potentially be our borrowers, that can be the users or the people that are receiving the properties. So the wholesale, this is going to be super important. First, I need a wholesale manager in the beginning. Going to train him, get him going. So this would be the 4th staff required for the launch. And this guy's responsibility is to go out and identify the users or the borrowers or the recipients of the opportunities and market. Is the same target regardless of how we're going to approach it. And this is going to be super important. And as we scale, we're going to need more. So we're going to end up with about 8 of these people. And I'll explain this to you, but this is super, super important. And this is a task we do not want the realtors that are processing to have to manage it. This is a very valuable source because this is what's going to help you get the loans and identify the borrowers in those particular markets. So this is, in a sense, a sales slash this guy is the sales manager that's closing the deals, but these people are identifying and opening the doors and making sure that they're going to be either people for the loans, people for the tech, or people that's going to be bidding on the properties. 1 person in the initial setup. All right, and then the cost of the tech. The Amazon server that we have, I know you guys have servers, so I'm sure we can probably mitigate that. Admin, that's Heather. This is me. Programmers for maintenance, and then any system improvements. We do have some small improvements, but nothing against this is placeholder. I'm sure it's going to be a lot less, but I want to put a real number just in case so we have something. So 2 things, and I broke this down in 2 sections. So total operating expenses is $70,000 first month, almost 70, and then 80. But operating expenses excluding salaries, right? 49. You mentioned that you guys already have most of the staff, which at the first is going to be 4. And then we're going to expand it out. So the majority, or a big chunk in this case, 20 grand here, is staff. So the initial investment, hard investment, is going to be pretty light, 157,000. So now let's talk about sales. Heather and I sold 3 licenses this month. I need to talk to you guys about the licensing fee for new licensees. If we go out and let's talk about first about wholesales. First, we're going to have 3 markets, 5 and 15. Same thing as we're expanding on 3, 5, 15, right? Units per month, 0, 0, 0. So we're basically saying we're going to have a goose egg in the beginning, so nothing. And then as we start expanding, training these people, let's just say we have 1 wholesale per, which is really light, but let's just say realistic. And that's just what's going to happen all the way through. So I don't want to put big numbers in here or put, because this thing starts getting crazy and I don't want to go forecast something unrealistic. So as we start expanding the markets, each agent, we're only going to do one wholesale. So in the beginning, it's nothing. Then once we go to phase 2, and now keep in mind, this is ResNet's part, not mine, not a gross. This is just ResNet's part, what they're going to be taking on. Licensing, I think this is something that we just hit the ground running. Let's just say we start selling 3 licenses, then we go to 8, then we go to 18 licenses, based on how much each of the licenses. I'm sorry, this is the total users, right? So if we sell 3, we have 3, and if I add 5, then we have 8, and then if I have 10, we have 18. So that's how we're figuring. We're gonna have a total of 250 licensees in 51 markets or 50 markets. So that means 5 licensees per market based on our forecast. And for each licensee, the first 3 months they're not going to generate anything. Then they're going to do 1 transaction, and then we're going to go to 2, and then we're going to go to 3. So it is really important that as we're identifying those people through our wholesalers and our sales manager, we're only going to be taking on people that we know they're going to put a full-time person to secure 3 transactions per user across the board to make sure that these numbers are going to be realistic. So that's going to be very important, but we're still taking zeros right in the beginning just so we're not relying on anything. JVs, nothing until we start going in super line numbers. But bottom line, we're expecting basically in the first month 3 licenses, in the second month 5. We're going to be doing a $5,000 fee, but since we're doing 50-50, $2,500 is going to go to you guys. $2,500 goes to us. So we'll talk about this, and I have this in yellow. I have a proposal there to minimize some of this cost. But ultimately, what this is telling us is that the income is going to be about $45,000, and the output is going to be $220,000. So the first month we're going to output 62 grand. Now, when I'm saying 62 grand, that means that is including the 70. So I know that the actual operating is 49, and those people are staff, but still, let's run it on the higher numbers, the total expenses, including existing staff that is part of ResNet. 62, 54, 58, right? So that first month, we're going to put out 70 and get 75. So we invested 62,000. Second month, we're going to put 67 and we're going to get back 12. So we invested another 54. So 62 and 54 is 117. And the third month is 25,000 we brought in. We're going to put out another 83,000. So that's another 58. So you're going to be at $175,000 in the first set. Obviously, first month, second month, this is going to also give you guys the ability to end at any time if we don't feel that we can sell it or make it happen. So if the first month it doesn't launch, their investment is basically $70,000 as it goes. So here's what's cool. The most money that they're going to have out in this entire process is $179,000. So that is as much money as ResNet is going to ever invest into this project if we're able to launch as I believe that we could. And as the income starts coming in based on these units and my very low numbers, conservative numbers, by the time that we are in the, I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 month, their 179 is going to be returned. By the time that we are in the 12 months, they're going to be up $1,000,001. So basically, they're going to invest a total of 179, which is really less because it's not based on this 220, it's based on this 157. 157 minus 45, it's basically going to be about $100,000 total investment of hard cost outside of their staff, current staff, to make this happen. And then this thing starts returning to the point to after 12 months, not only they're gonna have their money back, they're gonna be up $1 million to one when this are with very conservative forecasts. So bottom line, what I need to find out is to make sure that I have the commitment exactly as this is. Obviously, any changes we need to do is going to be mutually agreed to ensure, but I do need the staff, I need the money, I need this stuff to be available and for us to be able to start cutting people's this checks. Otherwise, this thing's just not going to launch between me and Heather. There's just no way. And if they are willing to invest this money, I'm willing to give them exclusivity. If they do not want to invest this money, then I cannot give them exclusivity. I will give them a license for them to test. Meanwhile, I have other companies that can provide me capital, or I can fund this myself, and you guys would get a part, not an exclusivity, but a license. I'll be glad to help you guys out and grow it. And you guys don't have to invest, but obviously there's going to be other companies that are going to be participating, and whoever makes us the offer first will get the exclusivity. So I think it's a very, very cheap way on their end to reassure that this is going to happen, but I need to make sure that the MLS are set up. We have the legal documents to launch. I got the 3 staff for sales, 1 wholesale manager to get launching, that we invest the money in the technology, and then we can start selling. Like I said, Heather and I sold 3 licenses this month for a total of $15,000 in fees. And you can ask her, they're selling themselves, man. This thing sells like hotcakes, $5,000 a pop plus 0.33, and we can start selling the shit out of this thing. Call me back after your review.